I'm Candy Wallace, founder and executive director of the American Personal and Private Chef Association. Today we're going to be demonstrating some client favorite comfort food recipes, and we're also going to discuss how to store them and some tips on cooling and storing food to be enjoyed in the future. The first dish I'm going to start with is a mashed potato dish. I like to peel my potatoes and dice them into small pieces so that when I put them into water and boil them, I'm not boiling them for an hour or more. This takes about 15 minutes to heat the potatoes to the consistency where they can be mashed comfortably. The ingredients for these mashed potatoes are about 1.5 pounds of diced Yukon potatoes. Russets are also very nice, but if you have a favorite potato, make sure that that's what you use. You're going to want to peel them and dice them. The other ingredients are obviously going to be salt and pepper to taste. I'm using warmed half and half and butter because it incorporates with the potatoes a lot easier and for a lot smoother result. I'm using today about 1/2 cup of half and half and about 2 tablespoons of butter for 1.5 pounds of potatoes. The other ingredient I'm going to be using today is fresh nutmeg. The tools I'm going to be using today are very simple. I'm going to use a hand potato masher to mash the potatoes, and I also have a spatula so that I can stir the potatoes and also to help me remove the potatoes to put them into the storage container. I also have a spoon so that I can taste for the correct seasonings. So I'm going to give them a quick mash, and then I'm going to season with a little bit of salt and pepper before I add the liquid. Now that we've begun the process, I'm going to season with a little salt and pepper. Love cracked black pepper. I don't think you can ever use too much cracked black pepper. We'll incorporate this briefly, and then I'm going to add the warmed cream and butter to the mixture. I think I'll use part of it and come back to it. The last thing that I'm going to add is some freshly ground nutmeg. We're going to grate the fresh nutmeg for a wonderful nutty crisp flavor that it adds another dimension to the mashed potatoes that's absolutely delicious. We'll add a little bit more of the cream and the butter and go back to mashing. As you can see, these potatoes are beautifully mashed. It still has some lumps in it. There are several ways to store mashed potatoes. They store beautifully. You can either serve them immediately. If you're making them for dinner, that's referred to as à la minute. You can store them in a container in the refrigerator and heat them again in your conventional oven and serve them at your convenience. Or if you choose to, you can actually store mashed potatoes in the freezer. One of the best tips on storing mashed potatoes in the freezer is once they're completely cooled, whip up an egg so that you have a beaten egg and incorporate the beaten egg into the mashed potatoes that are cooled. Then you can store them in an oven-safe and freezer-safe container for upwards of a month. When you take them out of the freezer and defrost them overnight in the refrigerator and warm them at 375 in a conventional oven, when you remove them from the oven and take a fork, you can actually whip the potatoes and they will reconstitute to their silky, creamy consistency. Now, if you have an item that you're going to be storing in the freezer and it's completely cooled, and you notice that there are air pockets, this container is almost a little bit too big for this project, you can take a piece of heavy saran wrap and cover the food completely. Put the saran wrap completely on the food and dangle it outside the container so that you know you have saran in it, and then cover it. What this is going to do for you is it will keep the air and the ice crystals that form in freezing from touching the food. So there'll be absolutely no chance of freezer burn on the items that you're going to be storing. So that's a great way to store your mashed potatoes for future use. Enjoy.